Hello, students. This is Dr. Henry, and I'm your instructor for BUS 215 Business Communication. This particular video lecture is all about Chapter 8, which discusses social media for business communication. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with social media. For example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. There are many different outlets for social media, but those we normally use for personal and individual reasons. This particular chapter focuses on the use of social media for business purposes. All right, so it starts out by talking about what we see in each generation. And so each generation has pretty much been labeled based on what people were able to do or did or are doing during their generation. And here is focusing on the workforce. And so it starts with the industrial age, which was around the mid 1700s to 1985, which is a long span of time. But some of the aspects of that particular age was there was command and control. There was little communication between teams. There was a top down effect where you had one president or manager who fed down instructions and directions of what they wanted people to do, and there was little collaboration. It was kind of a dissemination of rules and regulations and power that was based on that structure. Next, you have the information age where it is starting to become a little bit more collaborative, where you do see some two-way communication. There is a beginning respect for the expertise of the person versus just the position. And so some autonomy is available during the information age, and you will notice that there is a little bit of overlap between the different phases. As one phases out, a new one phases in and becomes stronger. And then lastly, which is the age we're currently in, is the social age, where there is a much higher aspect of networked communication. There's a lot more sharing between individuals. There's no top-down effect, or it has been lessened. There's more transparency related to how things get done. There's more sharing of knowledge and power, and all of that is under the age we're in, which is the social age. All right, so what is this age really? Well, it's an era where people are more engaged, they're more involved, they have more communication outlets, and there is power in that communication. And it is not hindered by time or space or other traditional boundaries. You have work teams that, work across state lines or even across country lines. Some of the aspects of this particular age that we're in is the evolution of the internet. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Web 1.0 tools or Web 2.0 tools, but in Web 1.0, the information was available, but it was static, meaning that it was read only. You wouldn't normally interact with it. But here in our Web 2.0 arena, um, the information is not only out on the web, but people can interact with it. In some cases, they can change it or edify it. They can comment on it, express their opinions and views. And, rules and regulations may change because of the input that others have with these interactive Web 2.0 tools. All right, now our book, as well as this PowerPoint, does a good job to kind of give you some side-by-side comparisons, and I'm not going to read each and every one of these. This is just an overview, but I did talk about where people are more involved and engaged in the 2.0 version. Other things as it relates to Web 2.0 tools, enterprise social software. So the types of social media that I mentioned at the beginning of this particular presentation, where I talked about Facebook and Twitter, etc., those aren't necessarily deemed as enterprise or business tools. Those are used for personal reasons, but different companies do have Web 2.0 tools that are strictly designed for businesses and how businesses operate. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Microsoft Teams Or if you've ever had a shared Google Doc where multiple people can be editing it at the same time, or you can see edits in real time. So those are just a couple of the examples. Some of the things that your book also talks about as it relates to social networking for businesses, user profiles, status updates, meaning statuses on projects or reports, blogs, and a blog is a web log. Co-authoring tools such as wikis, which is pretty much a website where multiple people can add information, make changes, etc. Shared files, group messaging, and chat boxes, and the like. Now, there are some benefits. So, with everything, there are pluses and minuses. And so, I'm not going to read all of these, but you do want to go over these because social media has some benefits to companies and then some that are actually beneficial to the individual business professionals. And so, I believe for companies, or according to our book, there is a lot more team communication and collaboration because of the social tools that are available, especially in the current atmosphere that we're in. A lot of people are doing Zoom meetings or other web conferencing tools where each person can be in a different location. They can be in a different city, a different state, a different country, and we're all, or all the business professionals are able to meet at the same time and get work done. So those are some of the benefits. There's a lot of innovation and creativity that can occur because of it. You're not limited by, some of the normal travel restrictions that you may have had in the past. You don't need as much resources to get input from people who may be in faraway places. You can do trainings from different kinds of experts, and costs are even down because of this. To the business professional themselves, they're able to network internally, meaning inside their business, and externally, meaning with other businesses, much easier. They have more access to different kinds of expertise. So if you're putting a team together and you need an accountant, you need a person that's savvy with websites or marketing, you can put a team together a lot easier with social media tools. And it also builds respect and camaraderie amongst the individual business professionals. All right, so some of the challenges, those were benefits. Some of the challenges, sometimes companies may run into a lack of adoption or penetration because in one of our earlier chapters, it did talk about that you do have different age groups in the workplace. And so some may be more receptive to these new social media tools than others. And so that can be a challenge for a business. Lack of performance. Sometimes when you don't see people there, they may not be doing the right thing when they should be working remotely, for example. Um, and so some of the other things, they may get distracted by the social media. There are other things that would present challenges to companies. For business professionals, lack of boundaries between their personal life and private life. This is a very big one because if you work from home or are able to work from home, sometimes it can be hard to turn it off, or it can be hard for your fellow coworkers to realize, hey, I'm at work during this time, but now I'm not. So you can't have, or you should not have, 24-hour access to any individual. There should be a definite start and end time. And so sometimes you lose that in our social environment. All right, so effective social tools, these are aspects that our author says contribute to whether the social business tool is effective or not. And so, does it allow the user to organize a dashboard? And a dashboard is just a centralized location where they can communicate or control the flow or what they communicate. Are they able, with social media, effective social media tools allow you to create a complete profile. They allow you to use blogs or status updates. And blogs, depending on the company you're at, depending on the type of work, they may or may not use these, but it's pretty much a web location for you to provide status updates. So it may or may not be in blog form. For example, you may have a Microsoft team, or there are Other tools, there's one called Slack where you can do instant messaging. There are a lot of different tools, which, we wouldn't necessarily have time to go through all of those, but just be aware that there are several different tools that are deemed as effective if they allow you to provide your team with real time updates. If they allow your team to share files and collaborate meaning that we're all able to see the file, change it, edit it if need be. Later in the chapter, it does talk about limiting who can possibly delete or erase a file. That's a concern. And then it should help you solve problems, and it may be with discussion forums or some other format. Okay, I just talked about blogs, so you can go more into that. The book gives examples. Some will pass through those. Talked about file sharing. Here are some things to avoid if you get into a discussion forum. So a discussion forum is where everyone can kind of put their input in at the same time. And you have to be clear and you want to be respectful so that you don't have these things happening. Leading posts mean you're trying to sway people towards whatever you want them to do or know. Ignoring someone's point of view, type of language you use, using it in a way that would be complaining or blaming instead of productively being sarcastic. All of these are things you would avoid in a discussion forum or any forum where you're giving input for work related objectives or even personal objectives. Some strategies, it says do use, read what the person says completely and carefully, try to put yourself in their shoes to understand what it is they're saying. State purposes of the forum clearly. So if this forum's purpose is to give project updates, then don't use it to complain about the workplace kitchen, for example. That's just an example. Use it flexible, be open with your language, inviting language, meaning that you want others to participate, build on the ideas that people have placed out there that are leading to a positive result or outcome for your particular project or objective. Show appreciation to teammates. All of these would help cater to a more effective use of a discussion board or an area where a team or a workplace group can express ideas. And there are examples as well. We talked about blogs. There are press releases, which a press release is what you would want the general public to know, and you can format it sort of like a blog if you wanted to. And so here are some of the components that the book talks about in those types of communications. It gives you ideas. I'm going to kind of pass through these. Here, I want to take a moment to look at guidelines for using social media in the workplace, and it can be any of the tools. It doesn't matter the name of the tool, but if it is something that you can see, your coworkers can see, your supervisor can see, the president of the company can see, these are the kinds of things you want to think about in those arenas that everyone in your company can see it. So you want to be an active contributor, meaning that if this is a group or team you're a part of, you don't want to be silent. You want to demonstrate that you are fully engaged. You want to read fully, listen and learn as it relates to the content that your other fellow coworkers are placing out there. You want to focus on the content or purpose of that particular social outlet. You want to make your content accessible, meaning that you don't want to do private sessions or areas. You want to make sure it's fully viewable by all the invested parties. So anyone that's on the team or group or in that department, they should be able to have access to it. You want your messages to be authentic and friendly. You don't want to be fake or boring. You want to respect the boundaries of your other fellow coworkers who are also in there, and then participate in other activities that are related to it. So these are some of the things that you want to think through when you're using any kind of work-related social media or any work-related outlet that is viewable by others in your company. All right, so this is just been a quick overview of what is discussed in Chapter 8. As always, if you have questions or concerns about our comment, you can reach out to me via email. My email is shenry@lawsonstate.edu. Thanks for listening. Bye.